Hi guys, tonight's devotional is a good one. It's about Moses and the burning bush. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace as if he were Egyptian, even though he knew he wasn't. He knew he was really a child of Israel, an Israelite. One day, Moses saw an Egyptian man hitting an Israelite worker. This made Moses really mad, because he was an Israelite too. He got so mad that he killed an Egyptian. Yep, he got a little too mad. Have you ever made a mistake because you were just so mad? Yeah, that's what happened to Moses. Moses knew he was in big trouble, so he ran off into the desert to hide for 40 years. That's a long time to hide. But he was sure if he came back to Egypt, Pharaoh would find him and kill him. So he stayed in the desert. Moses hid in the desert for so long, he eventually met a nice girl named Zipporah, got married, had kids, and became a shepherd. His new life was much better than getting killed by Pharaoh. So Moses figured he'd just stay in the desert and never go back to Egypt. Ever. No matter what. Until one day, when Moses was minding his own business and his sheep in the desert, he saw something weird. A bush was burning, but it didn't burn up. It just kept burning and burning. That's weird, he thought. And then the bush said something. Well, it wasn't really the bush talking, it was God talking through the bush that was burning. Since that was not a normal thing for Moses, or anyone for that matter, he decided he'd better listen. "Hey, Moses," said God, "the children of Israel are having a terrible time in Egypt. I've heard them crying, and it is time to save them and bring them to the land that I promised." "That's great," answered Moses. Then God said, "I want you to do it. You're going to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let the Israelites leave." And Moses said, "That's a terrible idea." Moses explained that he wasn't very popular in Egypt. After all, he had killed a guy. And God said, "I'll come with you." Moses went on to say that he really didn't like the public speaking and that maybe someone else would be better for the job. Again, God said, "I'll come with you." Moses asked why Pharaoh would even listen to him if he just showed up and said, "Let my people go." And once again, God said, "I'll come with you." Then, as if a burning bush weren't impressive enough, God turned Moses' walking stick into a scary snake and then back into a stick. Because, well, he's God and he can do things like that. So after he stopped running from the scary stick snake, Moses asked, Would you do cool stuff like that in front of Pharaoh?" God replied, "and stuff even more amazing than that." Moses thought and thought and thought and finally said, "Okay, I'll go back to Egypt. And you'll come with me, right?" And then God probably said, "What part of 'I'll come with you' don't you understand?" So nervously, Moses and his family started walking back to Egypt, and God went with them. All right, everyday truths. I can do hard things because God is always with me. Okay, now's the time where you get to talk with your family about these questions. The first question is, why did Moses think he was a terrible choice to rescue God's people from Egypt? Do you remember from the story? Pause the video and talk about it. When have you needed to trust God because you were afraid? Pause the video and talk about that one too. Okay, pray with me. Dear God, help us to remember that when you ask us to do something big, you always help us. Amen. All right, I'll see you tomorrow night for a bedtime story.